Hi everyone, welcome to workshop number 2 for the RealWorks Features and Options Internship Program. So this topic is going to be on freelancing. As I mentioned in workshop number 1, in the film industry you might find yourself needing to freelance for work. So freelancing is someone who offers a service for a fee. So in general terms, a freelancer works independently with no expectation of permanent or long-term relationship with a single employer. In film, you might find yourself working for a specific film company. But in lots of cases, you're going to have your specific film in the industry, whether you're a cinematographer, a producer, a director, and you're going to be looking for opportunities and projects that you can utilize your skill. You're going to be looking for movies you can direct. You're going to be looking for projects that need someone to edit the film afterwards. So you're going to be looking as a freelancer. You're going to find specific projects, offer yourself as a fee, and work on that project until it's completed, as opposed to working with a specific company for the duration of your employment. In order to freelance, you need to have something of value to offer potential clients. In this case, for many of you, it's going to be your film skills. Most people draw on their employment expertise and offer freelance services in areas which they are specifically talented, just like all of you and your film experience. The following items are also useful for those who want to freelance: a website to promote yourself, a dedicated business or cell phone number on which prospects can reach you, a business card, ideally a business address, so your home address could work, but maybe a P.O. box where clients can also reach you. A portfolio of your best work. So in this case, a lot of you might want to start putting together, or you already have, portfolios of your films. So things that you've worked on, projects that you've done, that you can put all together to send to potential employers so they can see the work that you've done on films and whether or not they want to employ you. Ideally, you're going to need a few references. So right now, you've already begun building up your references. I might be a reference. Jackson or RealWorks could be a reference. Anyone from your previous internships or RealWorks could be a great resource to talk to potential clients and vouch for your expertise. To find freelance work, there's a variety of different ways. A lot of it could come from connections. So people you know, your references can hook you into specific companies or employers that may work well for a freelancing job. You can also use some websites that have freelancing opportunities, like Craigslist, Guru, Elance, or VWorker. VWorker used to be called Rent-A-Coder. All of these websites have opportunities for freelancing on there. Freelancers also might join a union, and that can help them find different opportunities and different employment opportunities, as well as contacts, by joining part of this union, becoming part of this freelancing network. So going into the financial aspect of freelancing. So taxes are obviously going to be a little bit different if you're a freelancer as opposed to a regular employee. Like any job or business, freelancers need to pay their federal, state, or local tax obligations, and local tax, excuse me. This means filling out any tax returns just as you would if you started your own business, except that your taxes are now filed under your own name and social security number instead of your business name and tax ID number. Any clients who pay more than $600 in a calendar year are required to provide you with an IRS to report your earnings. There's more information on this written out so you can follow along in the workshop's handout folder. So you can have there's a website as well for what it looks like to be a freelancer paying taxes. Estimated taxes are filed with the IRS, just like any other business, on a quarterly basis. The IRS provides forms to help you estimate your taxes so you send in the right amount for what you're owed. Not paying your estimated quarterly taxes can result in penalties from the IRS and from your state. So freelancers, since they don't work for a specific business, are in full control of their financial and tax situation. Independent contractors, freelancers, they face higher taxes and more record-keeping duties than their employers. So you're going to need to keep track of what you're spending, what you're paying, how much you're getting paid very stringently so you can make sure that you're recording the right amount when it comes time to paying taxes. The basics of tax planning for a self-employed person begins with the understanding of how taxes are filed in the first place, which is substantially different than how employers are taxed. Independent contractors, freelancers, are taxed on their net self-employment income. That is, net after various business expenses have been deducted from their revenue. So you need to make sure you're subtracting how much you've spent from how much you've earned. Independent contractors have two separate federal taxes applied against their net income: the income tax and self-employment tax. Also, self-employed persons generally do not have taxes deducted from their pay. So I work for a company. I have an employer. I have taxes deducted from my paycheck every time I get paid, which makes it easier for me to keep track of how many I've paid because I'm paying every 2 weeks. So to mimic that, freelancers need to pay taxes periodically throughout the year in a form of estimated tax. A typical tax planning strategy for freelancers begins by keeping track of income, how much you're making, and expenses, how much you're paying. Calculating estimated taxes, so you need to look into how much your state, local, and federal tax are requiring of you as a self-employed person. So you need to figure out what percentage you need to be paying for taxes. And then making any financial decisions that may reduce your tax level. So we have different tax brackets that we all are expected to pay into based on how much we're making. So you need to look into how much you're making versus your expenses to figure out which tax bracket you fall into, and that's going to help you determine what percentage you need to pay in taxes. Financial decisions which seems to have the most impact on tax planning for freelancers are picking a retirement plan. Some of you that may seem a little bit far out, but you need to make sure you're thinking about that because that's going to be something else you're going to want to pay into, as including the income, state, and federal taxes. Going back into the advantages of being a freelancer as opposed to the financials of it. In freelance, you can set your own hours. You may be extremely busy one month and at a standstill the next month in a freelance practice, depending on what projects you're working on. Use this time to improve your website and investigate other ways that you can market your freelancing services. The next thing I'm going to go through, this is listed in our workshop handouts folder, but some quick tips for being a freelancer. Make a marketing and business plan. So make sure you're coming up with a clear plan of how you want to market your product and what your goals are long term. So that's going to help guide you. You might have the ideas in your head, but it also makes sense for potential investors or potential clients to see a clear plan that you have for your business. Plan your days ahead. So maybe on a Sunday you sit down and you look at everything you're going to do for the next week to make sure that you're staying on track with your business and staying on track with your desired product. Learn to say no. If you have too many products going at once, too many projects, you need to learn that it's okay to say no to a new client. You would rather put yourself into a few projects and do the best you can to create your brand as opposed to spreading yourself too thinly and not doing your best on these products. That's going to lose you clients as opposed to gaining clients. If you're working on 3 projects at once but doing a really great job because you have the time to manage that, then you will get more business because you're doing a great job as opposed to spreading yourself too thinly and making clients unhappy. Make a blog or a website where you can publish your work. You can show people what films you've done. You can post clips that you've done. So any potential client could find you easily on the web and look into what you've done. Update that website regularly. So every time you complete a new project, make sure you're adding it to there so people can come and see that you are an active freelancer. Use social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. These are all great resources to make potential connections and find more clients for your work, as well to market yourself. Get allies. So making sure you're making those connections and finding references, as we talked about in the beginning of the workshop. Utilize a savings account. Freelancing can be tricky with finances at times. As we mentioned, it can be very busy one month and very slow the next. So you need to make sure that you're putting aside at least a couple $100 with every project into a savings account. Leave that savings account. Don't touch it until you have to. If you're having a slow month, you can dip into your savings account because you've been putting money into it with each project you do. Make sure you're looking professional, as we talked about in your orientation video. You need to make sure you're always presenting yourself in a professional manner. You don't know when you're going to meet a potential client, and you want to make sure that you are always being courteous, friendly, and polite. Just because you are your own boss as a freelancer does not mean that you can be disrespectful in any way. You are treating all of your clients with respect. You can even think of their clients as your boss. So you need to make sure you're presenting yourself respectfully, polite, and professionally. Ask for feedback. With each project you do, ask your client how they felt about it. What could you do better? What did you do well? That's going to help you learn, and that's also going to make the client feel like they're valued. Always carry a notebook around with you. So this could be an actual notebook, your phone, or any sort of other technological notebook you may have. So you can record ideas. You never know when you're going to meet a potential client, so you can take down their information. If you're on the bus and you're thinking about your next project and you come up with a great idea, you can quickly jot that down. Make sure you always have your notebook with you. Make business cards. These business cards should include your information, your phone, your email, your website, any social media you use to promote your brand. You want to make sure that you have these business cards on you at all times because, again, you never know when you could meet a potential client, and you can just hand them that business card so they have your information on hand. So this is the end of our freelancing workshop. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. So going forward, you might need to look back at some of these tips. Like I mentioned, there are a few handouts in the folder, as well as a website about taxes and being a freelancer. So please feel free to contact me, and looking forward to Workshop 3.